This has been a very busy week in terms of iPhone 18 Pro leaks and rumors, so here's everything that's new. And since we're talking about the iPhone 18 Pro here, just check out how awesome this wallpaper looks on our iPhone 18 concept here. This is the latest Distant Drive spec by Alisher, which I think is perfect for not just your iPhone, but also your tablet or any desktop, with these beautifully layered landscapes with super vibrant colors. My favorite one is this nighttime drive, which has such a unique vibe, but let me know which one is your favorite. And check out wallpapers for iOS and Android by using the links below. And I want to start off with the biggest rumor change, and that's a smaller dynamic island. You see, after 4 years, Dynamic Island is finally changing. And this is very interesting because, fun fact, we've actually had 4 years of the OG notch as well. That was from the iPhone 10 up until the iPhone 12 Pro. And then for 1 year, we had the smaller notch that was with the iPhone 13 Pro. And then of course, the Dynamic Island was introduced with the iPhone 14 Pro in 2022. So a change is definitely overdue. And as we all know, the Dynamic Island created a whole new design language for the iPhone's front, making it instantly recognizable, just like the notch before it. So how is Apple planning on shrinking it? Well, according to Digital Chat Station on Weibo, Apple could be hiding the Face ID infrared sensor under the display in the top left corner. This is where it was originally believed that a front camera and the Dynamic Island as well would go into, as shown in John Prosser's latest video about the iPhone 18 Pro. But it seems like there was some sort of mistranslation, probably from the supply chain sources, because that's only where the infrared sensor will be going. The front camera and the Dynamic Island would still be centered. And by moving that sensor out of the way and placing it under the display, it means that the Dynamic Island can get a lot smaller, around 35% smaller according to Ice Universe. The current Dynamic Island measures in at about 20.76 millimeters in width, while the new one is expected to shrink to roughly 13.5. I was personally expecting something closer to a 20% reduction, similar to what Apple did with the iPhone 13 when they introduced that smaller notch. A 35% reduction, however, is really impressive. And I know some of you are probably disappointed, as some of you probably wanted the Dynamic Island to go away completely, but honestly, I quite like it. I just love how easily I can see important information when I need it, like the status of my flight or the status of my Uber. Plus, Apple is said to be bringing it to even more Apple devices, such as the new MacBook Pros, which are launching in late 2026. So the Dynamic Island is definitely not going away anytime soon. It's simply just getting smaller. That's it, or at least the hardware aspect of it. And speaking of the displays, here's something that I was definitely not expecting, and that's an even brighter display. You see, with the iPhone 17 and the 17 Pros, Apple has already bumped the maximum brightness from 2000 nits all the way to 3000 nits, a 50% jump. And yes, now it's set to be getting even brighter. However, personally, what I want to see is just a way for Apple to sustain that brightness for longer, not necessarily a brighter display. Bowie, one of the suppliers of the new OLED panels for the iPhones, has actually been struggling with their production due to Apple's strict requirements, apparently. This led to Apple changing their order of a few million OLED panels to Samsung Display instead. Of course, it's still unclear whether these new panels will be exclusive to the iPhone 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max, or if the base iPhone 18 will also receive a brightness boost. If I had to take a guess, I would expect this upgrade to remain Pro only, and that's because right now, the iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Pro actually have the exact same display panel, including the same peak brightness, something that we've never seen before. So keeping that higher brightness exclusive to the Pro models would once again help Apple differentiate the lineup more. And speaking of differentiating the lineup, this is another important point that I want to reiterate. Like I mentioned in our previous video, in case you've missed it, Apple is rumored to split the iPhone launches, with the Pro models launching in September and then the cheaper models, so the iPhone 18e and also the base iPhone 18, launching early next year. Same for the iPhone Air 2, which would make the iPhone 17 a super cycle device that was sold for roughly 18 months, which does actually make a lot of sense since the base iPhone 17 was such a big upgrade over the iPhone 16. Video on that right here. Now, speaking of jumps, we may also see a price jump for the iPhone 18 series, according to leaker Ukes1122. Although apparently only the higher tiered storage options would see this price increase. The base iPhone 18 model is said to stay at 256 gigabytes of storage and the same price of $799. And so is the 18 Pro at $1099 and the 18 Pro Max at $11.99. Although I would say that this price increase does actually make sense, since RAM and storage options have literally gone through the roof lately. Also, when Apple released the iPhone 17, they actually bumped the base storage from 128 to 256 without bumping the cost. And look, the thing is, Apple already overcharges significantly for their storage upgrades. Across the entire iPhone 17 lineup, if you upgrade from 256 gig to 512, you have to pay $200. An upgrade that I'm pretty sure only costs Apple a fraction to implement. So if Apple increases that cost even further to, let's say, $300 for 512 gigs, I don't know, I feel like most people would just stick to the base storage. And maybe that's also a way for Apple to force more people to just buy more iCloud storage instead. So what would you guys do if Apple actually had a $300 storage upgrade price? Would you still upgrade to 512, or would you stick with that base storage instead? Now, here are some good news. Apparently, we're also getting more RAM. Specifically, the base iPhone 18 is said to be getting a 50% RAM boost, jumping from 8 gigs to 12, just like what Apple did with the M5 iPad Pro. This is a bit surprising given how much RAM prices have gone up to, but I think it's great news. And that's because I have actually noticed apps reloading more often on the base iPhone 17 compared to the iPhone 17 Pro or 17 Pro Max that do feature 12 gigs of RAM as opposed to 8. And of course, extra RAM will also help when it comes to Apple Intelligence features. Video on that right here. Another super exciting upgrade is that besides the variable aperture that I mentioned in our previous video, Apple is said to be working on a teleconverter, according to Smart Pikachu on Weibo. Love the name, by the way. So what's that? Well, a teleconverter is like extra zoom glass that would make the camera see farther without you having to crop in digitally. It would essentially improve mid to long range zoom. The downside is that it lets in less light. Of course, a variable aperture usually helps this by opening wider when the teleconverter is used, allowing more light to hit the sensor. The only problem is that the variable aperture would be on the main lens, whereas this will definitely be on the telephoto module. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you give the main module zoom? Yeah, that just makes zero sense. So does this mean that a telephoto module is actually the one gaining the variable aperture? Could be, and I do think that would make way more sense. After all, that is the weakest module out of all three, something that I expanded on in this video right here. And finally, we may also be getting a bigger battery on the Pro models specifically. And even though we haven't had any specific leaks about the battery sizes, we have had some rumors about some thickness and some weight increases on the iPhone 18 Pro Max specifically. According to a Weibo leaker, the iPhone 18 Pro Max would weigh around 240 grams, making it the heaviest iPhone ever, alongside the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And keep in mind that that iPhone was using a stainless steel frame, by the way, which is very heavy. So I'm hoping that that extra thickness and, of course, the extra weight does translate into a bigger battery. And this would make a lot of sense. If we take a look at the iPhone 17 Pro, for example, that was 0.5 millimeters thicker than the 16 Pro that it replaced. Yet it came with an 11% larger battery for the physical SIM version and an almost 19% larger battery for the eSIM only version, which is a massive year-over-year increase. So if we get another increase in thickness along with a 15 to 20% larger battery, then I'm definitely not complaining. In fact, this could be a way for Apple to push more customers towards the iPhone Air. If someone just wants a thinner phone and they don't like the thicker iPhone Pros, then they can just buy the Air instead. But let me know, what do you guys think, and which one of these iPhone 18 Pro leaks and new features are you excited for the most? And do subscribe to the channel for more Leaks Rumors episodes as soon as we have extra news to share. Check out our app wallpapers for some awesome designs for all of your devices. I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.